Good morning, I'm Brad Phillips. I'm here with Puppy Steps Training, and today we're going to be doing Watson's demonstration for you. We are very excited to send him to you, as I'm sure you guys are excited to get him home. So we are going to do a full demonstration here. We're going to start by just talking about socialization, as well as just some things to expect over the next couple weeks. And then I will pull him out and we'll go over his manners, his obedience commands, house training, crate training, and leash training. So before that, just remember that he is still a puppy, and so there's a lot of growing, a lot of maturing. There are going to be times that he's going to test the water, but it's important that you develop a solid relationship with him, and that relationship has to be built on you being the leader. And how you do that is by being consistent. And consistency really is the secret to dog training. And that's consistent in rewarding him as well as correcting him. So when we reward him, we use a marker, and so he knows that this marker is the word okay. So when he hears that, he knows that he's done the behavior correctly and there's some type of reward coming. Now we use 3 different types of rewards. The first is food. That's always going to be most powerful to a dog. And then we also use affection and toys. And so when he does something correctly, use the word okay and then give him a reward. Now on the other side of things, you do have to correct your dog. He's always looking for information. You're always training him. And so when we correct him, we use the word no or nope. And I use that similar to like a misdemeanor felony type of deal. If he does something wrong, regardless of what the behavior is, he is going to get corrected. Now the severity of the correction is determined by the behavior. And so if he does something simple, like maybe he breaks a stay or he comes out of the crate too soon, I'll tell him no and I'll have him do it again. Whereas if he jumped up on me or tried to steal food, that's something a little bit more severe. I'm going to give him a little bit more severe of a correction. And I do that by adjusting my voice fluctuation and my body language. Dogs really read into those 2 things. We do have one type of physical correction, which is a leash correction. And that's if he were to try and jump up on somebody, or if you're on a walk and he starts to pull, that's just 2 pops on the leash. So now with socialization, that's the first thing that we did with him. And to me, that's one of the most important things you ever do with a puppy. So during that time, he spent 2 weeks where we just focused on getting him around just new environments, new people, sounds, just a variety of new experiences. And that way we can see if he has any timid behaviors, aggression, or anxiety, and we can really make sure that we help him feel comfortable and help him feel confident in those uncomfortable situations. And you're going to have to do a little bit of that as you bring him home because he's going into a new place. Some things are uncomfortable, and so it's important that you help him feel comfort. And we do that by focusing on engagement. And what that is if I saw him acting a little bit shy or he's a little nervous around something, I'd invite him over, have him sit at my feet, and I'm going to go down to his level and I'm going to pet him and I'll give him treats, and I just want to make him feel very comfortable, and I want it to become a positive experience. And so if you see that, just really focus on his engagement. That'll also help him start to feel comfortable with you and start to build that relationship. So now we are going to let him out of the crate. We'll start in on his manners. And the first one is his gates and his doorways. So anytime he comes out of the crate, we go through a house door. Expect him to hold a stay. Now it should be an automatic behavior. Shouldn't have to tell him anything. But once again, he is still a puppy, and so sometimes they break, and it's important that you correct him. So I might simply close the door, lift up my leg and block him. It wouldn't be unless he was really pushing his way out that I would actually tell him to wait. Okay, good boy. And I am going to hook a leash on him. I like to have him drag a leash around for the first little while. That way if I need a quick correction or need to get him outside really quick, I have a way to do that. So now I'll show you the house door when we do go outside to go to the bathroom. And I'm going to let him get a quick drink. And then I'll show you his greeting. And what that is anytime I call him to me, I expect him to sit before I give him any attention. Watson, come here. And good boy, good boy. And then when he does sit, I'll go down, I'll greet him, I'll pet him, and I'll reward him for that behavior. Once again, that is an automatic behavior. And what you're looking there for is when he does sit, that he makes eye contact with you. That eye contact shows that I have his attention and he's going to be focused on me. The other thing that greeting does is it's a replacement behavior for jumping. So he has something to do instead of trying to jump up on me. And that does take a little bit of time to make sure that he does that for you. Most of that's predicated on him starting to respect you. And so for the first little bit, you can just invite him to sit and start building that habit. Good boy. Good boy. Huh? Now, I'll show you his mealtime manners. So anytime that we feed him, I expect him to hold a sit stay. And so where he just sat down, I'll just ask him to stay. Okay, good boy. He has really great stays, and the mealtime is a great time to really work on those stays. I also spend a lot of time just handling him when he eats. I want to make sure that he's not going to be aggressive towards me. He's going to be alright with me sticking my hands in his food bowl. Every once in a while I'll even just throw a treat in there when I'm around, just so it's very positive. He should also be fine with me taking it away, not get antsy, and I can ask him to do it again. Stay. Okay, good boy. Good boy. Okay. So we also just spend time handling him in general, making sure that he's not overly sensitive or aggressive towards any part of his body, his paws, his ears, his tail. It's also important because you will be having to have him groomed. You also clip his nails, and he hasn't showed any real sensitivity there. Also, just dealing with aggression in general, we haven't found any with him. He's very sweet, very easygoing. Oh, good boy. And but there is one time that just playful behavior can be mistaken for aggression, and that's with kids. Kids are the greatest thing to a dog. They're the perfect height, and they run, they squeal, make everything a lot of fun. And so your dog wants to play along. They end up knocking a kid over, or maybe even grabbing a pant leg. And then the next door neighbor thinks your dog just bit their kid. So, in order to prevent that, I like to make a rule that anytime small children play with my dog, they have to have a toy. That way, it gives him something to go after if they're running, or if you get a child that's maybe a little bit nervous around dogs, they can throw the toy and direct him away. Come here. And he does love to play, loves to tug, loves to chase, and so he's got a great toy drive. Come here. Oh, you left it. Left it. Come on. Come here. Now, when he plays, we do have the command drop it in order for him to let go of it. And if he'll pick it up and bring it over here right now, I'll show you that. Watson, come here. Come here. Which he's just going to take it in the corner and chew on it. So I'll show you with something else. This is what he was trying to get to. It's a bully stick. Come here. Watson, come here. Look what I got. Yeah, good boy. And so I'll let him chew on that for a second. And there's a couple different ways that we work on drop it. One is actually me having a hold of something and him letting go of it. The other is him just dropping it and looking up at me. And so if I take a hold of it here, which he doesn't want to hold on to anything for me right now. There you go. Drop it. Good boy. And I just want him to physically release it. I shouldn't have to pull anything away from him. He should just let go of it and direct his tension away. Now, if he ever didn't want to drop it, the first thing I would do is just hold it really still. Make it unappealing. He can't pull it around. But then if it was long enough, I'd take both sides of it, and then I'd just turn my knuckles in, pinching his lips against his canines, and he's going to drop it just because of a little bit of discomfort. And if he really didn't want to give it up, I would just slip my thumb right on top of his tongue behind his canines, and you're just going to push down lightly, and he'll open his mouth as wide as he can. But he's really good about dropping things. I don't have any issues there. Good boy. Drop it. Good boy. Now, we've also just taught him to be very gentle in general with his mouth. And so I can just tell him gently. And I expect him to be very cautious when he takes a treat. I'll also always give it in the palm of my hand. That way he can't catch my fingers. And also if he was jumping, I could just pull that back and tell him gently. Yeah. Gently. Good boy. Good boy. Now, the next two manners are ones that you're going to have to set a precedence at your home immediately. The first one is chewing. So he's in the heat of teething. He's lost a handful of his teeth, but he's still got a lot to go, and then he's going to be cutting molars. So the next couple months, he has to chew. And so that's a behavior you can't escape. But we train with the basis of avoiding and replacing. If you can avoid giving him free access to shoes, to toys, to anything you don't want chewed up, that's the best way to prevent an accident from happening. However, it's never possible at your home. There's always something that he's going to have access to. So that's where replacing comes in. And you're going to replace based on texture. So if I saw him go up and he started chewing on a pillow or a soft bed, I would tell him no, and I would replace it with something soft like this plush toy. If he wanted to chew on something hard like a table leg, I'd tell him no and give him something like the bully stick. Shoelaces, give him something that's more like a rope. But try and match that texture, because he's chewing based on what he feels his mouth needs. The other thing is boredom. Boredom causes chewing. And so if you have a downtime, whether you're reading a book or watching a show, I just like to give him something to chew on. That way he doesn't go find something to chew on. And then, if he's sitting there chewing on something, he gets up and leaves, I immediately take it away so he doesn't have free access to his own things. And that's just how you're going to prevent any disasters from happening. Also, if he's bored and he hasn't gotten any exercise, that also causes destructive behavior. So the last manner is jumping, and so we've taught him the command off, which you heard me say when he started to kind of climb on the crate looking for that bully stick. Expect him to get right down just like he did. And that goes for if he's jumping up on something like that or up on the couch, as well as if he's jumping up on a person. It's also important that if he does try and jump up on you, you can never step backwards. As soon as you step back, it turns into a game. He's going to come even faster, and he's just going to want to jump more. So instead, I'll always step into him, and that way I restrict the space, and if he does jump, I'll bring up my knee into his chest. We've worked on that a lot. That's one of the hardest behaviors to overcome as a puppy. He's done really well with it, and you're going to want to make sure that you set that same precedence immediately. If he tries to jump up, bring your knee into him, tell him off. So that concludes our manners, and now we'll move into our obedience commands. So now, the first commands that I'm going to show you are come and watch me. Those two we teach from day one. They're kind of our foundational commands. And then I'll show you hand signals for sit, down, and stay. I'll show you both his sit and his down, stay, and then his place commands. So the first one is just to get eye contact. All I'm looking for is him to look at me. But we're going to go outside first. Okay, outside, good boy. And let him go to the bathroom. Okay. Okay, good boy. So he did go to the bathroom there, and I'll talk about that in detail here in just a few minutes after our command section. So, where he's out of the camera frame right now, I'll actually call him to come. Watson, come! Okay, good boy. I'll always use his name when I call him to come because I like to get his attention first. And we treat his name very similar to watch me, just asking for eye contact when we use it. And so then followed by a come command, I switch his focus, then deliver the come command. Watch me. Okay, good boy. Just looking for him to look up, just like that. Very simple command, yet very useful because dogs have this single track mind. So whatever they're looking at, that's what they're focused on. Watch me. Okay, and you can work on it just that easy, distracting him any which way. You can also just wait, let him get distracted, and then use it. But then with the come command, so to me that's your most important command that you have. And so we work on that a lot, and that's also a command that I see a lot of people break. And the reason for that is first is overuse. If you're in the house and he's like 3 feet away, you don't need to use a come command. Instead, come here, Watson, come here. Something like that, he's going to come to you. Responds to high pitch, kissy noises, claps, whatever it is, he's going to respond to and come to you. So don't overuse the command because you'll burn it out and he'll become almost callous to it. The other thing is when you do use it, make sure that you're using it in a positive way. Call him over, give him a treat. Come here. Boy. And don't scald your dog or scold your dog when he comes to you, because that'll make him not want to come. Even if maybe he didn't listen the first time and he's chasing after something and your blood's boiling and you call him and he finally comes to you, if you get mad at him, he's not going to want to come. So instead, work on it more than you use it. Go take a long lead, go for a walk, let him explore every minute or two, call him to come so that he's staying close, but then give him a reward and let him go again. That way it's staying positive. So now our hand signals. So the first one is sit, and sit is just a scoop over the nose. Just that simple hand motion right there, just like that. Down, I'll just take my hand flat and I'll take him to the ground, and then stay as a stop sign. So I'll show you that right here. Come here, Watson. So sit, just up over the nose. Down, I'll take him down, and then stay. Now if he's in a down stay, he's never allowed to come up. However, if he's in a sit stay, I don't care if he lays down. And we do like to add some things to really increase these stays. We call them the 3 Ds. That's distance, duration, distraction. Okay, good boy. Now very similar to that, I'm going to turn him around here. Stay. Okay, good boy, good boy. Which, are you going to find it? Here, it's right here. There you go, good boy. So once again, that's sit, down, and stay. So the next 2 commands are a place command. The first one is I'll ask him to go into his crate. Watson, crate. Good boy. And I'll give him the treat when he goes in. And then he's expected to stay. Okay, good boy. When I use that, I'll let him read my body language. And I can tell him crate. Good boy. If he were to hesitate, you can tap on the top. Okay, good boy. Now the crate command, you're going to also want to work on a lot more than you use it, because if you just use it when you lock him up, he's going to quickly realize that and he won't want to go in anymore. And so if you can use it random times throughout the day and keep things variable, it's going to keep it entertaining. Okay. And he's not going to freeze up on you. Okay, good boy. Very similar to that, I can tell him to go to bed. And I don't care what position he's in as long as all 4 paws are on the bed. And then he's expected to stay until released. Okay, good boy. And also you're going to want to let him read your body language. Go to bed. Good boy. And I like to point, especially as I get closer. Okay, good boy. Good boy. Then I'm going to set him up here on the bed again, and I'll have him lay down. I'll show you a leave it command. Down. And we'll see if he'll let me put it on his paw, which maybe you won't be able to see on the camera, but leave it. And leave it. Okay, good boy. And I'm going to replace the treat. I'm not going to give him the one that was there. He actually knocked it off his paw, but still the fact is I want him to leave it and not go after it. We did this a lot when we're on a walk, and I can apply just a little bit of pressure on the leash, and then he's expected to leave whatever the object is. So, yeah, that concludes our obedience commands. Now we're going to talk about his crate training. So we've spent a lot of time getting him comfortable in the crate, making sure that he's going to sleep through the night and not have accidents. And right now he is. He's sleeping. We put him to bed about 10 o'clock in the evening and get him out around 6:30. So he's sleeping 8 hours, doing really great there, and he's good for 3 to 4 hours during the day without having accidents. And the crate is one of your biggest assets, so use it, especially if you just need some time to relax and can't watch the dog, or you got something going on. Put him in the crate, and he's very comfortable in there. Now, when we do put him in the crate, like I said, he's doing great overnight. However, this transition is going to cause a lot of stress, and so he's going to have a loose stool. He's also going to have to go to the bathroom more frequently. So while he's in the crate the first couple nights, he might start to whine because he needs to go to the bathroom. If that happens, just take him out to the bathroom, then put him right back in. I honestly don't think it's a bad idea just to set your alarm the first couple nights and give him one break, because that way you avoid the barking and the whining, and he just gets a break halfway through. He's not going to wake you up, as well as he's not going to start thinking he can whine to get out of the crate. Now, also because of this stress, he might not want to go into his crate because of the flight, as well as he just doesn't want to be away from you. And so if he starts whining immediately when you put him in there, just give him a bully stick or a marrow bone, something just to help calm him down. Don't give him a toy or a rawhide. Both have choking hazards. You can also throw a blanket over the front of the crate to make it seem more den-like. Also, if he does kind of freeze up, like I said, that stress, and he doesn't want to go in, don't force him in. Instead, you can lure him in, like throw a treat in there so he chases it in. Do that a couple times so that he just builds a little bit of confidence there. But like I said, he's doing great with that. And use it as an asset, especially as you start the house training as well, because the biggest thing with the house training is 100% supervision. If you can't give him that supervision, if you have something else going on, just put him in the crate and let him hang out. And he's been doing really well with the house training, and I want to show you how to transition the bell. Out of all the training, this is the most important part, as well as it's the most involved for you. Because we get him as close to 100% as we possibly can, being in a different location. Now at your house, he's going to have to relearn where the bell is, as well as that it means the exact same thing. And so you need to teach him that. And the best way to teach him that, make sure that it slides over as quick and as smooth as possible, is to get a lot of repetitions. And so the first couple days is a little bit of an inconvenience. But if you follow these instructions, you won't have any issues. But I'll be completely honest with you that I've had people that haven't followed the instructions and thought, well, I just spent all this money on a well-trained dog and just giving them free roam or free range. That's when you have issues. You have to supervise them. You have to control food and water, and you have to make sure that you follow these steps. So I'm going to take away his bully stick again. I'm going to show you how to transition these. So I'll also warn you, when you do this, it's going to really encourage him to ring the bell, and you're going to treat him for the first day or two, which is fine. You're going to want to do this, and you really want to encourage this. Some people think it seems more like a game, but what you're just doing is getting those repetitions of him seeing where the bell is at, and that it means the same thing. And so I'll start with just targeting the bell. So all I want him to do is ring it, and I'm going to give him a reward every time he does. Come here. Come here, Watson. So I'm going to have him sit up here, and I'm just going to hang the bells next to him, and I'm going to stare at the bells. And every time he touches it, I'll mark it. Okay, good boy. And it doesn't matter how hard he hits it these first couple times. Okay, good boy. Just the fact that he's touching him. Okay, good boy. Okay, good boy. When he's consistently wringing him out of your hands, okay, good boy. Good boy. Then I'm going to move over to the door, and I'm going to do the exact same thing, but partway through, I'll change my wording. Come here. Okay, good boy. Okay, good boy. Okay, outside. And I'll start emphasizing the word outside. Okay, outside, good boy. Okay, outside, good boy. Okay, outside, good boy. So this time I'm going to take him back out. But I'm going to wait for him to actually. Okay, outside, good boy. Okay. Okay. Now, if I was doing this at your home, I would immediately come right back over to the bells, have him ring it another couple times. Okay, outside, good boy. Take him back out. And I would do that 4 or 5 times, just so you're getting the repetitions. He's ringing the bells, he's seeing where they're at, and then you're taking him to the area that you want him to go to the bathroom. Now when you take him outside, I'll give him maybe a minute or 2, let him sniff around. If he pees really quick, I'll give him another minute or so, just in case he has to poop. Now, when I do this, I'm going to basically ignore him while he's sniffing around. When he goes, I'll tell him, okay, get outside, good boy, and I'll give him a treat, I'll pet him, But if he doesn't go, I'll just come right back inside. So then after you do that little repetition, that little exercise there, for the next at least 24 hours, set a timer for every 30 minutes. And every 30 minutes I'll walk him over, I'll let him ring the bells off the door, we'll go outside. Now the exception there is if he's in the crate, so if you need a break you can put him in there for a few hours, you don't have to take him out every 30 minutes. But after the first 24 hours, then you can start to increase that. Go to 45 minutes, go to an hour, then 2 hours. But just slowly increase that time over the next few days. Okay. 2 hours is our standard for him to hold it, not have to need a break. I know that he can actually go longer than that, but I don't want to let him. For the next 2 weeks, I want to keep it 2 hours or under. That way I stay ahead of his pee schedule and I'm not going to chance that he has an accident. But the biggest thing to all this is 100% supervision. If you're not supervising him, then you can't do anything if he has an accident. If you don't see it, you can't do anything. Whereas if you do see it, that gives you an opportunity to make it really black and white. If I saw him squat, I would stomp, I would clap, no, and I'm just going to run him outside as fast as I can. And then if we get outside and he finishes, then I'll switch my attitude or my emotions around and I'll say, okay, good outside, good boy, and I'll reward him. But the supervision is critical. Most of the time, they don't like to do it in front of you anyway, and so that gives you, you can watch him really good there. Also, he does generally have to go to the bathroom within about an hour after eating and right after waking up. And also look for signs if he starts sniffing real heavily or if he starts doing circles, get him out. The other part of this is controlling his food and water. When we feed him twice a day, morning and night, usually around 7 in the morning and 6 o'clock at night. 6 o'clock at night is the most important part of that. That way he has 4 hours to clear his system because we put him to bed at 10. We also are feeding him about 1.5 cups. Water, you're going to want to control the water. I'll give it to him with meals and then maybe 4 other times throughout the day. Also, I'll make sure that that's taken away by 7 o'clock just so he can clear out his system. So, if you do have any questions with the house training, don't hesitate to give me a call. But now we'll talk about his leash work. So we do take him on 2 different types of walks. The first is an off-leash or a long lead walk. Until he's coming for you really well, I wouldn't let him off leash, especially if you're in an area that something could happen. Instead, I'll really work on that come command while having him on that long lead. Let him run around, sniff, play, just be a dog, but then every couple minutes call him to come, give him a treat just to let him go again. So it's really rewarding. He's being able to just release some energy, but you're also really working on that come command. The second type of walk is our attention walk, and that's if we're out in public or a walk around the block, I want him next to me with a loose leash. And I don't care if he's a step in front of me or a step behind, just because he is still young, so I'm not applying that pressure, I'm not forcing a direct heel, but I do want that loose leash and I don't want him pulling. We do have 2 commands with that. Let's go, signifying that we're moving, as well as I will tell him that at corners, and then easy if he starts to pull. And so we'll actually go outside and I'll show you that walk. So now, the ground's a little wet, so he might not want to sit, but generally when I start a walk, I do like to have him sit. That way I get his attention. And then I'll just tell him, let's go, and pay attention to the way that he walks next to me, and the leash, and just the way that we do this. Let's go. Want him by my side, this nice J shape in the leash, him periodically looking up at me. Okay, good boy, good boy. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Periodically, when he is focusing on me, I will give him a treat. And then if he were to pull, I'll tell him easy. I'll try and stop a little quicker. I tell him easy, and I expect him to put the slack back in the leash and then sit in front of me. Bare minimum, I expect him to stop pulling. If there's a real heavy distraction, sometimes there's real focus there, And if that were to happen, if he just really wanted to get to something, I would immediately pop him on the leash, and I would turn around and walk the other way. And that way, I would do that till he regains his focus, and then I'd start working back towards that distraction. But he's great on the leash. He does a wonderful job. We've really enjoyed him. Easy. Good boy. See, just like that. If you do have any questions, let me know. Let's go.